It's not worth to get the whys and the...
Welcome back to the Future of Money Virtual Summit. My name is Ryan Andrew Peterson. I'm the CMO of Conscious Marketer. We are co-producing this event. And on the line, we have Russell Castagnaro and Adrian Ashley, our co-host. He's going to be talking about the crypto commerce, expanding e-commerce to the other 70%. I'm going to turn it over to Adrian in just a minute, but I just wanted to give you a preview of what we have coming up on the summit. Tonight at 4 p.m. Pacific, we have Ryan Moran talking about creating wealth and cash flow in the crypto age. So you won't want to miss that. And then tomorrow, we got a full lineup. We're excited to start at 7 a.m. Pacific with Tiz Gambacorta, which I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. But he's got an awesome presentation about the 3 steps to generating multiple income streams with cryptocurrencies as soon as tonight. So if you wanted to get into action quick, that would be your talk. After that, at 9 a.m. Pacific, we have Roger Bryan. He's our co-host here on the Future of Money Summit. And he's also the founder of Digital Currency Index. And then at 12 p.m. Pacific, we have James Altucher, a.k.a. the Crypto Genius. So you won't want to miss that talk. It's going to be a good one. At 4 p.m. Pacific, we have Adrian Ashley, our co-host and author of Minting the Future. You'll be able to see her in just a few minutes as well. And then 7 p.m. Pacific, we have Brad Hart, After the Storm, looking forward to the future of crypto blockchain. Last thing, under this video, we have some share buttons for Facebook, Twitter, and Google. If you could click those and share this with your friends and family, it's not too late to sign up for this live summit. And we want to try to get this information out to as many people as possible. So without further ado, Adrian, why don't you take us away?
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Future of Money. This is day 9, and it has been a wild ride so far, and I cannot wait for the rest of the summit. Everybody that we have on is absolutely amazing, including our next guest, Russell Castagnaro. But before we start, I want to read you this handy dandy little disclaimer. So the content of this summit is provided for informational purposes only and is not intended to provide any specific tax, accounting, legal, or investment advice, or provide the basis for any financial or investment decisions. You should always consult with a licensed professional to seek specific advice to your situation. Okay, now let's get going. Welcome back to the Future of Money. How's it been for you so far? For me, it has been game-changing, life-changing. And this is the world's largest live online cryptocurrency summit. So I've missed a few. I have to go back and read them. And I'm betting that you do too. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to share with you and remind you that you have a button at the bottom of this page for the cryptocurrency training kit. And this is the special offer during the summit that gets you over 40 hours of talks plus 25 speaker bonuses and the program called Cryptocurrency Mastery Program. The regular price for that is $497, but you can secure it during the 10-day summit now for just $297. That is something that you are going to want to get your hands on. It is the most comprehensive training package in the market, so take advantage of this special offer right now. Now let me introduce you to Russell. Russell is an e-commerce revolutionary and the CEO of WampPay Inc., a company dedicated to bringing electronic peer-to-peer payments to any business, regardless of credit, race, religion, age, origin, and with or without a bank or a third party. His experience ranges from one of the first U.S. e-commerce applications in the 1990s to e-philanthropy solutions to e-government solution portals. Throughout it all, the e-commerce component was always there. From 2003 to 2016, Russell headed the e-government team that ran eHawaii.gov. His team implemented over 120 services for Hawaii state and county government that processed over $2 billion per year and launched hundreds of state government websites. Russell's past with e-commerce convinced him that cryptocurrency technology, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, are the world's best bet for return to sane commerce directly between parties, and he has placed himself at dead center in this upheaval. Russell's going to be talking to us today about crypto commerce, the e-commerce we all deserve, and he's going to cover requiring credit for electronic payments is no longer necessary, how to accept and send payments without requiring a bank or a third party, the new decision that merchants online and in person need to make in order to accept cryptocurrency payments, and lowering costs of doing business by virtually eliminating fraud and drastically decreasing processing costs. At the end of this talk, we will let you know how you can access some more important information and free resources from Russell, so make sure you stick around to the very end of the call. So welcome, Russell. I'm so excited to have you.
Thanks, Adrian. This is really exciting. I've been watching some of the other interviews I don't think it's going to be as exciting as maybe the crypto yacht or Tim Draper's, but it'll be good.
Okay.
Some good stuff.
We did, yeah, the crypto yacht, we did meet like 20 of the top 20 ballers in the world, and Tim Draper did sing with me. So I do think we've set the bar pretty high, but I think you're up to it. I honestly do. And I think you can sing too.
Okay.
So, but before we start your topic today, specifically, Russell, we ask everyone to share their perspective on one question. How do you think crypto will influence the future of money and of the world? What is your perspective?
Well, it's going to change everything about the way we live in the same way that, if you consider the world that we live in before the internet, or before even just think about cell phones, that we are all tied to third parties to process payments. And that cryptocurrency, if it has done nothing else, but Bitcoin made it so it was possible for someone in Sudan to make an international payment to someone in New York City without going through a third party, that is just about as world-changing and as world-shrinking a concept as I can think of. And this making the world a smaller place, bringing everybody together, crypto does it.
It totally does. Well, I love the idea of peer-to-peer. The other day, somebody was sending me a payment, and had I done it through my typical merchant account, it was on a Friday. I wouldn't have seen it until Tuesday. So it was a Friday at 6 p.m. And by 6:15, I had the money in my wallet. And by 6:25, I had moved it to my BitPay card, and I could spend it and use it. And I was like, this is the future of money right here. This is what it's all going to be about, is when we no longer have to wait for that float, because they're actually profiting on the float. So talk to me about 70% of the world is unbanked. Why don't the banks just go in and bank them?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. The easy answer is that 70% of those people don't have enough money for them to warrant worrying about, right? If their income is less than $100 a year, then why does a bank? That's not what banks are for. And so they're not interested in getting banking. It's too expensive for them. Maybe they even do have a good income, but they're just too far away. They're just, the closest branch might be 25 miles away, and they don't have a car.
Okay.
That's not going to make any sense for those people. And those people being out of that, since they're not in the into banking, they don't have access to financial services that we take for granted.
Got it. So what I noticed that we've got this jump in technology, right? So we have these African tribes, and they're in their full on decorative things with the skins and everything, and they got a cell phone. Like they got a cell phone. They got either a feature phone or sometimes even a smartphone. Like, they completely jumped the whole desktop, laptop cycle and went straight to mobile. So how is mobile going to empower these 70% to take it upon themselves to transact business?
Well, I think it's important for us, those of us who live in developed countries and have banks, and it's not an issue. We take all of this for granted, and that when we use a credit card, a lot of times we talk about payments, but it's credit. Those are credit instruments that are being issued. And that's not the way people have always done things. And of course, if you're in a less developed place, like in some countries in Africa and South America, really places where you have the great connectivity, credit isn't an option. People just want stuff for whatever you're going to give them. You've got a good or service. They want to get something in exchange that's valued to them. This blew my mind. So 3.5 years ago, I went to Swaziland, and on the side of the road, people are wearing these vests, and they're selling minutes on your cell phone. So you could just basically send minutes via SMS, and you just give them like 20 Rand, and you get your minutes. And people use that to facilitate commerce, electronic transactions between each other. It blew my mind. And you look at that, and it's such a low-tech solution, and it's, inherently got major security and major issues associated with using minutes as your bank. But But then you go sort of the other end of the spectrum, and you look at, like in Japan, the train system that they have there with the Suica card, which is a really low security NFC card, which is the same thing. It's just cash. And people will use whatever makes sense to them, and whatever makes their lives easier. And so if you are in Africa or in the Amazon and you want to pay for stuff, and the fastest, easiest way to do it is a cell phone, you're going to cut through all the garbage and get straight to the good stuff. And that's how you're going to do it with cell phones.
So in the US, we have a few industries that are fighting for notability, respectability, mainstream acceptance, part of that being the marijuana industry, where it's legal in, what are we up to, 26 states? And yet the federal feds are still saying it's a Schedule I narcotic and illegal, therefore no banking. So they're having to carry large sums of cash, hire armed guards, and pay everything in cash.
Right.
What does that do to an industry? When an industry can be freed up to not have to have that burden, what is that going to actually do for that industry?
Well, the first thing it does to industries, and it's not only pot or things that are like sin tax sort of things, but knife shops, anybody who sold anything online and has to wait for their funds. These people all have much higher cost of doing business, right? So in the case of the pot business, they're paying between 15 and 25% of their top line revenue to handle real cash management. That is like actually inventorying cash, paying guards, having big guys carry buckets of but duffel bags full of cash to go pay their taxes, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge cost. So that cost gets, it trickles down to the consumer, right? So they're doing commerce in a way that all of us consider archaic, and we're requiring that, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And so cryptocurrency technology makes those kinds of things go away, right? They, instead of having 15% of their funds go to this cash management issue, that just disappears, right? And it becomes a model that's much more similar to anyone who's doing some sort of commerce, right? And in Colorado, where I am, it's really only I think 55% of the cannabis companies have banks, but in the other states, there's nowhere near that high percentage, right? And even the ones that do have banking cannot accept credit cards. They can't accept e-checks. They only have a place to deposit their dollars, their cash that they receive. And they can write checks, but they can't receive payments electronically because those payment services, those third parties, are federally regulated and not willing to threaten their position in the market and going to jail because of the federal rules.
That is so crazy to me. So let's talk about the other issue. So I have people that will take cryptocurrency. They'll hand their phone to an assistant. At these big live events that I speak at, and their platform events. So people will want to pay in crypto, but in order to get it, the person's at the back of the room, not the owner of the wallet, has to have the wallet open. But with WampPay, that's not the case. Can you discuss the way that you've architected it to allow many people to accept money securely on behalf of the merchant?
Right. And that's really the key. So once you realize that credit is not necessary, right, for a payment to come through, we're talking payments and not credit. Credit's great, and I love not having to pay my credit card bill until 28 days later. But that's not what we're talking. We're talking about just facilitating payments without credit. Yeah. And if you're going to do that, then what you're really asking for is something that's a lot more like a cash register than it is payment services. And that's what we believe at WampPay, that's really what you need. And so our software doesn't even have the keys to the cryptocurrency that you're using, right? The crypto is basically it's a non-custodial wallet, so that sorry about that. Okay, sorry, I lost my power cord real quick. But so we don't take custody of any funds. Our software is simply software. There's no buddy that's in between. There's no one taking the money. There's no one taking a percentage of the funds. You're paying for the software. You can have as many users as you want to, as many different clerks taking payments. You can have people who are delivering in the field using their phones to accept payments. You can basically issue invoices and have a paper invoice that has the link to the payment on it. All those funds come in directly to this software, which is, you can host it on the cloud, you can host it internally, but that software can't do anything with that money unless the administrator, the owner of it, logs in and provides the keys, and then those funds get transferred out. So there's nothing WAMPay can do to move money at all. It's all on them, and it's really just meant to be a super duper unsexy crypto thing. It's a cash register that allows you to. It's a cash register on steroids, maybe. Maybe you could say that.
I love that. It's not sexy. Well, you are famous for saying all stuff, no fluff. So that's kind of a big deal. You know, we get a lot of fluff in the crypto market, and we have people hyping, my thing can do this, and my token can do this, and my token can do that. But in reality, you know, let's talk about token functionality, because this is one of the pieces that is kind of critical to the entire crypto movement. So I'm working on my own token, as you know, and I was going to build it on Ethereum, and I started working on the tokenomics and building the smart contracts, and then CryptoKitties hit, ground everything to a screeching halt. Bitcoin, there was something that someone said in an interview, not on this, but on something else, that 80% of the miners are in China, and if China bans mining because of the electrical grid usage, that all of a sudden the difficulty is going to be too hard, and all transactions are going to grind to a halt until it figures out it's grinding to a halt and then makes it easier. That doesn't seem like that's how that works to me. Can you explain how it does work? Because I think
let me just pick up my head here.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a number of different things to unpack there. First of all, it seems like whenever anyone's talking about cryptocurrency, they exaggerate the hell out of what they're talking about, right? So they're saying 80% of miners are in China. That's kind of crazy. Okay, so 80% of miners are not crazy. There have been people that have said maybe even as much as 50% of the miners are there, but that is more of a. They're worried that that there's one entity in China that's somehow cornering the market, which is clearly not the case. These folks aren't running under the auspices of the Chinese government.
Right.
If they were, then why in the world would they ever want to make it illegal?
Right.
Right. That's like, oh, well, all the bankers are coming here to do all their business. We got to make banking illegal.
Right.
That doesn't make a lot of intuitive sense. The other is the difficulty issue. I talk about, there'll be so few miners that the competition will be more difficult. Well, the same miners that were running before, however, this large block of miners that we're talking about stopped running, they're still running their software. They're still solving problems. Transactions are still going through. They're just competing with fewer other miners. So it's not going to it's going to when the difficulty level changes, that will be a nice welcome bonus, and it'll cost a little less as far as energy to generate a new Bitcoin. But the idea that transactions are just going to stop is pretty silly.
Awesome. So let's talk about scalability. I know that there was a huge uproar last year between SegWit and SegWit 2. I know that Bitcoin Cash were likely, I hope, cross your fingers, we're playing phone tag right now with Roger Varick trying to get his schedule. So we're going to talk to him about Bitcoin Cash, but we have all these forks off of Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Private. What does that do to the marketplace in terms of really getting the mainstream adoption for using cryptocurrency? Isn't that like saying, well, hey, you can use dollars, but hey, we've also got yen and euros and and pesos. So isn't that just going to confuse the mainstream people?
So let me answer it in reverse, and don't let me forget to answer it. Okay.
Okay.
The easy thing is, think about this as the first time that you got a credit card. That first credit card was kind of hard to get.
Yeah.
And you were really proud of it, and it was exciting, and you looked around for the places that took, whatever card that you had, and you're like, here's my card, And then, your third or fourth card, it was like, oh yeah, another credit card. And so
I need a bigger wallet.
Is people are on their training wheels as far as crypto commerce, right? They're learning about non-custodial wallets as opposed to doing transactions from an exchange. They're learning about their own personal responsibility, that it's similar to having cash in your wallet. You lose it, your cash is gone, right? That's unless you've backed it up. So they're learning about these kinds of things. We are, within, depending on, how you look at it, we're somewhere between 6 months and 2 years away from, people becoming generally comfortable with an electronic wallet that they hold their funds in, right? And once that happens, then you've got Changely, you've got Shapeshift, you've got these companies that will transparently transfer funds from one type of crypto to another. Mm-hmm. So once everyone gets comfortable with it, it will be super simple. And a great example of this that already exists in the fiat world is in the United States, our banks have one currency, and we're lame that way, right? If you go to Japan or you go to Singapore,
Amsterdam, 17 currencies per cash register.
Yeah, so
it was awesome.
It's like this is the rest of the world is already there. We need to look up from our little area and see that having multiple currencies is a feature and not a bug. And it's actually gives you more flexibility and more options. Yeah. And so and that's it will be so intuitive to. So my daughters are 11 and 13, and when they're 15 and 16. They're going to be paying for things in multiple cryptocurrencies or multiple fiat currencies, and they're not going to give it 2 seconds thought.
Right.
Normal any different than calling somebody that was on the Sprint network versus T-Mobile versus AT&T would matter to me. It doesn't.
Right.
It's going to be the same exact thing.
Okay.
Was there something I forgot to address, or did I get back to that?
Well, that I understand the millennials, but 35% of millennials own cryptocurrency. And as you said, 11 and 13, it's just going to be second nature to them. But mainstream current people, right, our age and older, especially older than our age, we're actually very with it and hip. So,
yeah.
But let's call Gen X and older. Adoption in our population, we are the ones with 80% of the wealth. To make these spending choices and getting them and their money into the cryptocurrency pipeline is a task, right? So how do we convince them that their money should not be earning 1% in mutual funds, or at least 10%? Maybe. I say 10% of your money should be in Vegas money. Just take 10% and or every fifth coffee, skip the coffee and buy crypto.
Right.
Well.
An interesting thing about adoption is that there were a couple of studies have come out. There was one that came out in January. Another one came out in February. Nearly 60% of adult Americans own cryptocurrency. And most of that, 5.6%, I think of that is Bitcoin.
Okay.
So we're already getting there. That's like almost 20 million people in the United States that already have it. So, I think we're in a pretty good position. They actually break it down into the different, market segments. And as you'd expect, the oldsters are trailing. But, our age, the Gen Xers are looking, we will probably be up around 20% by the end of this year.
We would buy a house on Bitcoin.
I tried to sell my house.
I know.
I tried to sell my house, but I couldn't find an escrow company that would allow. So I'm talking to escrow companies now.
I already had 3 escrow companies that would have done it.
Not in Hawaii.
Not in Hawaii. You are correct. Not in Hawaii.
It's the price of paradise.
They're a little bit trailing. But I want to talk about, what is the threat to the current infrastructure in terms of, because
I remembered what I forgot to talk about.
Okay, then tell me.
Because it gets me really excited. No, you talked about forks and different coins and all that kind of stuff.
Forking.
And so here's the thing about, the dollar is centrally controlled and it moves along and policies change from whether you have, a good administration or a crazy administration or somewhere in between. They make different fiscal policy changes. And, a fiat currency has a path that goes on. And you can't just say, you know what, screw it. We're going to do a Colorado dollar that is going to do, we can't, that's not something you're allowed to do.
You can.
You can't legally. It's not the federal government won't let you.
No. The federal government is not allowed to say no. The federal government is only allowed to mint money. The printing money is left to we the people. They have then assigned that to a private corporation to then print money, which is how McAfee is going to get away with it. But go ahead.
Libertarian testimonials aside.
Okay.
But the way that the network, so every change that goes into Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of these public blockchain business or company or platforms, is democratic, right? The miners don't have to take the new software,
right?
The people using wallets don't have to support them, right? There has to be a demand. So when you talk about SegWit and SegWit 2x, SegWit obviously was adopted when it was put out. SegWit 2x was not. It was a flop.
And why not? I mean, wouldn't that have doubled the size of the blocks and increased the speed of transactions?
You could argue doubling the size of the memcache would have, which would have helped a lot.
Yeah.
Or doubling the size of the blocks would have helped a lot. But there were a lot of people that made arguments otherwise. There were a lot of people that said that it would put some mining platforms at a disadvantage to others. There's all sorts of different arguments about it. What it comes down to is the important one is that SegWit did go in, which is good. And that helped a lot. But that SegWit 2x may come back, and maybe next time it'll be 4x. But it's a democratic process. In the same way that when Bitcoin Cash forked off, right? Bitcoin Cash forked off and they said, this is the way we want things to go. And people could choose to use it or choose to take, look at Bitcoin Gold, which is worth next to nothing, right? So you get to vote on how it goes. And whichever one is the one that is most widely used becomes Bitcoin. Because there is no central, you talk to the Bitcoin core guys, or the Bitcoin folks, that they're in charge of everything, but they're not, right? Who's in charge is the ecosystem is in charge of itself, and it's made of these large numbers of feedback loops, which makes it a very unsatisfying answer. Well, what should I go for? The answer that you should have is you should go for the one that works for you. Bitcoin is the one that works for just about everybody right now.
Yeah.
Right? The reason it didn't back in November was because everyone was doing super high priority transactions on exchanges, and the exchanges were not using side chains to the extent they could. They weren't using things like Lightning Network to speed things up, and so it got clogged up. But it was
horrifically, and then CryptoKitties.
Well, and CryptoKitties was more showing that. What Vitalik says all the time about Ethereum is it's not ready for prime time yet. He says it all the time. It's like, look, we're like 2 or 3 years away.
Yeah.
Bitcoin, it's a simpler problem because it's only one problem, not like a whole huge number of problems with different smart contracts and everything. So with Bitcoin, it's simply payments and velocity that you have to solve, and so that is improving constantly. And there will continue to be forks. There will continue to be stumbles. And every time it stumbles, it'll come back stronger. So whereas 6 months ago, if you were doing a transaction, you may have paid 20 to 25 Satoshis per byte as your mining fee to send that through. Now, I commonly see 1 and 2 Satoshi per byte payments going through, and those are settled within an hour. So we're in like a wonderful place as far as Bitcoin payments go. It's fantastic. And even if you've got, even if you're doing a transaction that's on an exchange, which typically costs 20 times more, that comes to 40 cents instead of 2 cents. It's a pretty good deal nowadays.
So let's talk about arbitrage and exchange shopping, because as we discussed the other day, I blew it because you had already told me about GDAX, and then I promptly went and sold on Coinbase. where it cost me $148 instead of $25. So how are they able to have such drastic differences in pricing? And what does that mean for merchants?
This is actually a beautiful thing about wallets and about Bitcoin and blockchains is, if you're going to send mail, right? If you're going to send a letter out to someone, you decide how fast do I want them to get this?
Right.
And so should I be sending them through snail mail, or should I be sending it through FedEx overnight?
Right.
And those have different cost structures, and that makes very good sense to everybody, right? So I don't know if you'll be able to read this. Let's see. Can you? Oh, it's backwards, isn't it?
No, I can read it.
Oh, you can?
Urgent, priority, normal, economy, super economy.
Right. So mine's on super economy right now, which means that, let's see. So super economy costs me 1 Satoshi per byte, and it settles within 4 hours. Within 4 hours. And then I've been seeing it within an hour.
And 4 hours is still way better than 4 days for my Friday transaction that I don't get to get money until Tuesday.
If you send a wire, you don't get it that fast.
I want to talk about wires. Actually,
so let me just show you this. So look at this now. It's at urgent.
Yeah.
You see that? So
59 Satoshis per byte.
Right. So that's 59 times more expensive to go urgent.
Right.
Urgent is what the exchanges do because they want those funds to settle as soon as they can. So whenever you're paying from your Coinbase account or some other exchange account, that is going to have the highest fee associated with it. So it makes transactions cost a lot more, which is why it's important to go to a non-custodial wallet that you have control of those kinds of those kinds of policies.
But how can you get it back from your non-custodial wallet into your U.S. bank if you need cash?
You can just send it to you send it to your exchange, back to your exchange. You don't pay for that. And if you're going to just transfer it, so like you sending it to your BitPay card, or if somebody's sending it to a Shift card,
it cost me 4 cents.
Right? You just send it through. No, they charge you a percentage to be fair.
It was 4 cents. The whole transaction was 4 cents. I was like, I don't know. The next day it would cost me $4 and something, but yet the first time it was 4 cents.
There you go. That's crypto commerce for you.
Crypto commerce. It was awesome. I want to talk about commerce. I want to talk about the things that nobody talks about. So we know about FDIC insurance, and people are like, I want to make sure my money is insured. My money needs to be insured. Well, it's only insured up to $100,000 per account. And part of me wonders if they'll change that to per person, per bank, not just per account. So you can't just split them all up. But in crypto, you are personally responsible for your stuff. There's no go backsies. There's no insurance per se. But let's talk about fraud, because that's something that happens all the time. Now, in crypto world, it's somebody going, hey, join this faucet for 1 Bitcoin. You'll get 2 Bitcoins back in 4 hours. And then everybody's sending them a Bitcoin, and it's a scam. So, but let's talk about wire transfer fraud, because isn't that like rampant? Huge. And nobody talks about the $1 trillion fraud in the traditional banking industry that is safer than crypto. But
because it's not safer.
Because it's not safer.
Right.
So let's talk about the difference there. How does that work? And then in the crypto world, how are we preventing it, solving that?
Well, the SWIFT system, which is the international wire and ACH system, one of the biggest problems is it's based on older technology. Mm-hmm. And they don't require that all the different clients all the software, the computers that connect to the network, they don't require them to have the same security patches installed. So as a hacker, you can go find the places that have the least security installed to go and use exploits that are known. It's something that people have been doing on the internet for a long time, but they can do it.
Kitties. You don't even have to know how to program. You just pull that baby off the dark web and cut, paste, and press go.
Just do a little spear phishing attack and you're in.
That's right.
And it's just the difference between whether you're talking about SWIFT wire transactions or ACH inside the United States or credit card transactions is, let's say I send you, let's say you're the merchant and I give you my thing and I'm buying a $5 widget from you. You swipe it through, that goes up through the 3 or 4 different companies that have custody of that information, and they are forced to hide it. They extend credit, you send it to me. So that's great. Well, anywhere along that, my payment information could get snagged, right? Somebody could get into their system. And now the risk is not $5. The risk is the full extent of my credit that's available to me on my credit card, right? And that's why for merchants, 1.9% of their revenue goes to fraud, to fund fraud, fraud, because of that huge risk, right? Came through you, you're going to pay for the $500 charge, even though it was only a $5 charge that went through.
Oh, wow.
So it's huge. Now, in the case of cryptocurrency, let's say a malicious hacker gets a hold of your website and they put a new address factory. So now any payments that go through get sent to their account instead, their address instead of your address. And it takes you a couple of days to find it. Well, those people are only out the amount that they sent. So in my case, I was buying a $5 widget from you. My $5 is lost. You can make me whole for that $5 because your system got hacked. But that's it.
Right.
There's no more money involved. So it cuts your losses to the least possible amount because all payments are a push.
So as a merchant, that feels safer. Your customers are less at risk. Like the other day I went and I got gas and my ATM card, which I just got a new ATM card. I mean, I'm only 3 months into this darn card. And when I came, I literally got gas, got here, started doing a live interview. My phone starts blowing up. At the end of the interview, right, 60 minutes later, I find out they've tried to make like 6 ATM transactions with my PIN code. Now, the only way they could have gotten that was from the gas station because I hadn't used that card with a PIN code for a week.
That's not the only place they could have gotten it, but here.
But the timing, right? The timing. Yeah. That's the likely culprit.
Sure.
And now they sent me another card, and I have to memorize a whole new number. It's just ridiculous. So
it is totally ridiculous, and this gets back to the fact that we are depending on credit for things that we need not depend on credit for.
Yeah,
it's the only way we know how to do it, right?
Well, I use debit, not credit, but
debit. So debit is a lie. A debit card is a credit transaction too.
Yes.
So it goes through the Visa. If it goes through the Visa debit network, if it goes through the regular ATM network, that's not the case. But Visa debit is a way for you to use debit cards through the Visa credit transactions.
Right. And MasterCard.
Yeah.
And are they different?
They're a little different. They're a little different networks. They maintain them a little differently, but they essentially do the same things.
Okay. And American Express, 3 networks.
And MasterCard and what's the one? Yeah. What's the one from Japan? Not Diners Club, but there's another one. Anyway, I can't remember.
I don't remember. Okay, so if I'm a merchant and I decide I'm going to start taking crypto now, what is it? Is it good to take crypto for a cup of coffee, or is it better to take crypto for like I said, when I'm doing speaking and people are selling $2,000 to $5,000 programs, the fees are lower. There's no go back fees, no chargebacks. It's done. It's done.
I think it makes sense for all scales to accept cryptocurrency payments, but you always address the pain points that are the largest. And so if you're taking payments, they're typically $2,000, and you're paying $70 per transaction in credit card fees for that, right? If you've got a reasonably good credit rating and everything, and you're probably getting that money within 3 or 4 business days. But that's costing you $70. The difference, you could be paying 1% of that, or maybe 2% of that instead, and be getting the money right away.
Okay.
So it depends, and also not have chargebacks. Because if you're in a business that people commonly change their minds for whatever reason, or conveniently forget that they actually did the charge or something like that, now they have to work directly with you to get those funds back.
Okay. I like that. I think somebody needs to make a Venmo clone that works over Facebook, that is an actual cryptocurrency with all of the features, the no-go backsies, the no nothing, but with the user interface of, I signed up with my Facebook account. This is me. This is how I verified my identity. Here's my money. And then pull money in and start circulating it like that.
So why?
I don't know where to buy the Bitcoin in the first place. That's the problem.
Well, I think that's, so one of the things I think is the best part of it. So you can go and download a wallet like you could download Copay or BitPay's non-custodial wallet, there are so many other ones out there.
That's not easy. Remember when I lost my money, and I'm smart, and I lost it because it was on the other phone.
Yeah,
this phone. And
just like if you had in the wrong purse, if you had your money in the wrong purse, it would be lost until you found another purse.
Right. But I didn't think of it that way. I just thought
because we're trained not to. We're trained to say, oh, a third party's taking care of this. I can turn my brain off.
Right.
And we can't do with this, right? And not everybody's going to want that. But anyone who wants to make the most of their money, and anyone who wants to, responsive, it's like, do you want to, invest in an index fund, or do you want to invest in some other kind of fund that's got some really high paid muckety muck running it, and they charge you a lot more to manage it, so you end up getting a lot less money? Well, some people just like that person having the big name, and they're with them, and they choose not to use an index fund.
Got it.
No, everyone knows that the index funds perform better.
Okay. So let's talk about, as a merchant, how do I start taking crypto? If I decide Walmart wants to start taking crypto, okay, maybe not Walmart. let's go a little.
Talk to Walmart. I would love to talk to Walmart.
I know. I actually
Walmart,
have.
If you're watching, please come to me. I will talk to any of the Walton family.
I have the Walmart guy. I actually know the Walmart guy. I have his card in one of my many purses at one of the conferences that I went to. I met the Walmart guy who's in charge of technology and instituting things like this. That's why I thought of Walmart. But let's say a smaller, a Pizza Hut franchise,
sure.
Right? Now, is that something that they're allowed to do? Is that something that they can easily integrate with? How do people add it to what they're already doing to their cash registers? How does that work? Is it going to be complicated? Explain.
So we actually have a video of one of our first customers, actually a coffee shop in Hawaii called Local Joe Hawaii, using a point of sale called ShopKeep, which is an iPad-based, a tablet-based point of sale, and OnePay Register together. And it's very, very simple, very easy to reconcile the whole deal. Mm-hmm. Anyone who's taken Groupons before has done everything that they need to do to accept cryptocurrency at the point of sale.
Wow.
It's that easy. Because you typically have an other payment method that you use and you process. So if there's no integration with the point of sale, we've made it so it's extremely simple. You display the QR code, they scan it. The software checks the blockchain to make sure that the payment's been sent, and then you're on your way. Typically, it takes less than 12 seconds.
Wow.
The whole thing to go through. And that you're actually doing something. You're not just waiting for the card to go beep, 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 or yell at you to take your card out. So
yes.
It's a really smooth process, and I recommend anybody take a look at that. It's because it is so. It is the first thing people think of is, "Are you kidding me? That's it?
That's it."
Really how it works. You can keep it. So yeah, it's a great system. Now we also have an API that can integrate more tightly. So let's say that you work in a busy bar, right? Mm-hmm. If you work in a really busy bar, what you typically do as a bartender, you're going to take their invoice, essentially on the little receipt paper, stick it in a jar, and then go and do the rest. And then when somebody wants to pay, they put their card in, you grab it, you scan, you do all that stuff. Well, now with an integration with our software, imagine on that on that thing, you've got a QR code, you scan it with your phone, it's paid for, you leave. The guy grabs it, looks, sees it's paid, and he's done, or she's done.
Nice.
It's a lot faster than even at a restaurant, having to go and get it and bring the card and swipe the card and bring it.
I'm paying on mobile apps all the time. All my favorite restaurants have a mobile app.
Yeah.
And I have my loyalty rewards. I log in and I'm like, pay my bill. There we go.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe the smartest place to integrate with those guys is going to be on the mobile side, is to integrate with their mobile apps and let people just charge up everything on their mobile apps with Bitcoin.
Yeah, something like that. That would be good. This has been eye-opening, as usual. And I love always getting lessons from you. I learn something new every time we talk. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you coming onto the summit and for talking to us today. Now, before we tell you all about what Russell's bonus gift is, before I do that, I want to remind you again that you can own this entire training summit through our cryptocurrency training kit. This gets you the downloadable access to the videos, the audios, the transcripts, the bonus gifts from the 35 speakers, all from only $297. You'll also get a special bonus training called the Crypto Mastery Program that we are producing right now. After the summit, the price of this training program will go to $497. So if you'd like to own the materials and refer back to them at your convenience, now is the time. Now, Russell, I'd love for you to share some of more information about your bonus gift, which is a discounted configuration fee for with the audience, with the people who are watching on the summit.
That's right. Can they pay for that with Bitcoin?
Can they pay for
the package?
They cannot pay for the package at the moment because no.
If they contact me, I will take their Bitcoin and get them the thing for them. So
okay, so they can buy it through you.
Russell at wampay.com. I'll take care of that for them.
wampei.com.
Right.
Yes. And what are you offering our viewers?
So we have multiple packages that you can use with our software, depending on things like what your transaction volume is and everything. But we're going to give 50% off to the setup fee and the kickoff for it. Let's see, if you sign up using it's WAMPME 50. So WAMPME50. If you pass that through as your code, or if you just mention the future of money, we will give you 50% off whichever package you choose.
Nice.
And if it's the enterprise package, that's a big
difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Russell, for joining us. Thank you all for joining us on the Future of Money, and we will see you following with the next few interviews. And don't forget to pick up your cryptocurrency mastery kit. Trust me, you're going to want to watch several of these again. And don't forget, they come with transcripts. So for those of you who did not take notes and knew you should have, those transcripts are invaluable. You just take a highlighter pen and go through. So that's my little tip for the day, and I will see you all tomorrow.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Adrian.